All right, guys, so let's make it so that when we delete a contact, it actually makes a delete request to the back end. And in our case, our back end is this JSON placeholder fake REST API. So if we go to contact.js, let's go to our onDelete click, and we're just dispatching to our context, right, which I'll just open up here. And we're calling delete contact, which just basically deletes it from the DOM. Now, if this were a front end to a back end website, you'd have to make some kind of call, some kind of HTTP request to delete it from the back end, from the actual database. So that's what we're going to mimic here. So we're going to go into the contact.js, into the onDelete click, and let's make our request here. So I'm going to just push this down a little bit, and we're going to bring in Axios. So up at the top here, let's import Axios from Axios, and then we're going to make a delete request. So we want to say Axios.delete, and we want to make the request to, let's see, let's go over here. So users, I'm just going to grab this. So it's JSON placeholder.typecode.com/users, but we need the ID in here. If we look at the home page, you can see you can make the delete to like post/ and then the ID, or users, whatever resource you're using. These are the different resources. We're using users, so we want users and then the ID. So /ID, and the ID is actually coming in right here. So what I'll do is change this to a template string with backticks, and then I'll just put in the ID, and we'll make the request to that. So this is going to give us a promise back. So we want to do .then, and inside here we'll take the response, and what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to call our dispatch, and instead of sending along, well actually no, we're not sending anything along except for the ID. But what's going to happen is it's actually going to make the request first to the back end and then handle the dispatch. So we just want to grab that dispatch. Whoops, did I do that right? Let's see. So this is, yeah, we want this whole thing. So this whole dispatch right here, and we want to put that right in here like that. So that way it makes the request first, and then when it's done, inside the .then we do the dispatch, and it will actually delete it from the DOM. Okay, and let's save this. Let's check it out. Failed to compile. Unexpected token. Let's see. 13. What did I do wrong here? Axios.delete. We do a .then. Oh, I get a semicolon in here. Okay. Now when I delete something like Aaron Howell, you can see it gets deleted. Now, just to show you that it's definitely making a request, let's open up our Chrome tools, and let's go to the network tab, and we're going to have to reload the page and delete again, and then it should show our request. So as soon as I delete something, watch down here. See this one? If I click on that, this shows the request that we just made, which is to JSON placeholder, users/1. The request method was a delete. The status code was 200, meaning that everything went okay. Okay, and then the response is just an empty object because we did a delete. It didn't actually return any data or anything like that to us. It just returns an empty object. But, you know, this would, if we had a back end, it would have been deleted from the database. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And we're doing everything as if this were a full stack application, but we're only working on the front end. Okay, if we're full stack, we would build the actual API, not just use JSON placeholder, and that's what we do in the MERN course. And I hate to sound like a salesman to keep saying that, but it is an excellent step to take after this course. All right, so now that we know that we made the delete request, let's do the same thing when we add. Because right now we're just adding to the DOM, but let's make a post request when we add. So to do that, we're going to go to our add contact.js, and let's see, we're going to go to our submit. So on submit, we check through our errors, Make sure everything's filled out. We have this new contact that we create, and then we dispatch. Now we want to do the same thing. We want to make our request here, and then in the promise.then we want to make the dispatch. And instead of just sending new contact, we want to send the response back, because when you make a post request to JSON placeholder, it gives you it'll give you the user we create back along with its ID. So it actually creates the ID automatically. So that's another thing we have to change, because right now we're generating an ID with this UUID, and we don't want to actually send that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring in Axios from Axios, and we're going to get rid of this UUID because we no longer need it. We don't need to send an ID because JSON placeholder, like most APIs, like most databases do, adds the ID itself. It's auto increment or whatever. So let's go down here and then take away this right here. It doesn't need the ID anymore. And then we'll make our request. So we'll say axios.post. We want to make a post request, and it's going to be to, let's see, users. It's going to be to this right here. So Axios post to that. And then again, it'll give us a promise back. So .then. And in the response, it's going to give us the data, which will be the new, the added, contact. So let's say we want to then do our dispatch. So I'll grab this, and we'll go ahead and put that in here. Now, instead of our payload that we send to the context, instead of it just being new contact, we want it to be the response data. So we're going to replace this with res.data. That way it's going to get the ID as well, because it's going to create the ID for us. The ID should be 11 because it gives us 10 by default, so the next one is 11. It's auto increment. So let's save this, and let's see if we can add. I'll leave the network tab open as well. Let me just reload. And then once we make our add, we should see the post request down here. So let's say Tom Smith. And let's go ahead and click add contact. Let's look down here, and you'll see users. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you know what? It only gave us back the ID. And if we look up here, this stuff isn't there. The reason for that is because I made a post request, but I didn't include the actual data. I didn't include the new contact. So we have to add that as a parameter right here. So new contact. So let's save that and try again. I'm going to reload the page, and let's go to add, and then I actually want to reload this page and then try it again. So we'll say Tom Smith, whatever, doesn't matter, and add. And now Tom Smith has been added, and if we look in the network tab, this is our response. Okay, so it went out to the back end, JSON placeholder, and it made the post request, and then it gave us this as a response, the stuff we added plus the ID. Okay, the ID got added as well. Now this doesn't get saved in the database. If I reload, Tom Smith doesn't stay there, because if that happened, then everyone would be able to just change the stuff in their database and add stuff to their database, and they'd go broke. So they don't let you do that, but they do let you make the actual request so you can test your application. And there is a local version called JSON Server that you can actually download if you wanted to do that. But I didn't want to get into all that stuff. So if you want to try it, you can do it, and it lets you actually add data and it sticks. But the code is the same either way. All right, so now that we can make post requests and delete requests, what I want to do next is I want to kind of refactor our AJAX calls, our Axios calls, into async await, which is a newer syntax to make promises better, make them look more synchronous. So we're going to do that in the next video.